Newsom wants to do the Maui plan. What do you think the Maui locals think of the Maui plan? Yeah. I'm sorry, there aren't any more locals living there anymore.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass?
Mel Gibson has drawn renewed attention in political discussions after openly criticizing Gavin Newsom and warning that California is losing its competitive edge. The veteran actor spoke candidly, arguing that soaring living costs are placing heavy pressure on families, homelessness remains a major challenge, and crime has become increasingly noticeable. In his view, Hollywood, once the undisputed center of the entertainment industry, no longer holds the same level of influence it enjoyed in the past. His remarks added fuel to an already heated debate over California's direction. Newsom supporters argue that the state continues to lead the way in innovation, creativity, and cultural influence. Meanwhile, critics maintain that high taxes, strict regulations, and rising operating costs are driving businesses to move elsewhere.
Since he's been in, whatever you call it, office, has brought us nothing but rampant crime, acute homelessness, horrendous inflation. I mean, the industry I work in, the film industry, this used to be the mecca of filmdom. It is no more. And the tech industries have taken off, and many businesses in the industry, they just left, they blew out of town because he's made it untenable for people to make a living here.
Over the past few years, several major companies have relocated their headquarters to other states. Tesla established its corporate headquarters in Texas, while Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Oracle shifted their operations away from Silicon Valley. Energy giant Chevron, data analytics company Palantir Technologies, and financial services firm Charles Schwab also announced similar moves. Since 2019, hundreds of businesses have either expanded outside California or moved their operations altogether, citing high costs and complex regulations as key reasons. These are far from minor companies. They play an important role in driving the state's economy and creating jobs. Their departures have sparked a much larger discussion. Are these companies simply looking to reduce expenses, or do they believe California faces deeper, long-term challenges? That question remains at the heart of the ongoing debate about the state's future, with opinions like Gibson's adding even more intensity to an already deeply divided conversation.
Job where I had to film down the street in LA, one day filming. It was cheaper for me to fly the entire crew to Bulgaria, feed them, house them for 3 days, shoot, come back. That was more cost effective. He did sort of make some concessions, but he made sure it was just enough so the kids still ran off the farm and went somewhere else to work. It's inadequate. He wanted to appear.
California's most iconic industry is no longer shining as brightly as it once did. Hollywood, long recognized as the world's leading center for film and television, has seen more productions choose to wrap up elsewhere than ever before. Gibson has been outspoken about why he believes this is happening. He argues that filming in California has become far more expensive than in places such as Canada, the United Kingdom, and parts of Eastern Europe, where generous tax incentives make production much more attractive. As a result, many filmmakers no longer enjoy the financial advantages they once had in the state. At first glance, Newsom's plan appeared to address the problem. His administration expanded the film incentive program by increasing annual tax credits from roughly $300 million to more than $700 million, extending eligibility to additional films and streaming productions, and introducing refundable tax credits that provide studios with direct financial support. Even though these measures signaled a serious effort to slow the industry's departure, the larger challenge remained. For many studios, California's high operating costs continued to outweigh the available incentives. Major productions depend on far more than actors and cameras. They also require jobs, investment, and long-term economic confidence. Gibson argues that this trend is no accident. In his view, high taxes and strict regulations have made filming more expensive and more difficult than it needs to be. A state that once stood unchallenged at the top of the entertainment industry is now struggling to hold its ground as competing regions attract a growing share of productions. If this pattern continues, California could see its celebrated filmmaking legacy gradually lose even more of its influence.
Now he and Karen, they want us to trust them to reimagine our city for us.
No.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's gonna build back better.
No. Criminals.
Yeah. Newsom wants to do the Maui plan. What do you think the Maui locals think of the Maui plan? Yeah. I'm sorry, there aren't any more locals living there anymore. They all had to leave town. Now Gavin has asked for $40 billion of federal dollars to do whatever he has in mind. Yeah. Why would we trust him with that kind of...
Mel Gibson has made his position unmistakably clear. He argues that Gavin Newsom cannot simply reverse the damage that has already been done. Once viewed by some as someone who could help address California's challenges, Newsom no longer has Gibson's confidence. The actor believes Newsom bears significant responsibility for Hollywood's decline, California's economic struggles, and ongoing public safety concerns. According to Gibson, real leadership is measured by accountability, not excuses, and he says there are few signs of the meaningful change needed to restore confidence. He is equally skeptical about Karen Bass, arguing that neither she nor anyone else can easily bring back the stability, business confidence, and Hollywood prestige that California once enjoyed. In Gibson's view, once public trust is lost on such a large scale, rebuilding it becomes an enormous challenge. He has also pointed to the devastating Pacific Palisades fires, which forced many residents to leave their homes. Gibson strongly criticized Newsom's handling of the disaster, claiming that important safety measures capable of reducing the damage were not put into place. He argued that the response was too slow and ultimately left communities more vulnerable than they should have been. To Gibson, the fires represent more than a natural disaster, they reflect what he sees as failures in leadership. He contends that inadequate preparation and poor crisis management allow the situation to grow worse, putting lives, homes, and public confidence in California's ability to protect its communities at risk.
Town. Do you think the people of the Palisades or Altadena are going to be consulted about how their areas are reimagined by Newsom and Bass?
No.
Huh? I mean, one of the most pathetic and despicable things I've seen was when Karen Bass, in order to shift the blame and culpability from herself, wiped it on the fire chief and threw her under the bus for speaking the truth about how the department...
In the aftermath of the fires, Gavin Newsom drew widespread attention after announcing plans to meet with developers to discuss the future of the Pacific Palisades area. For many observers, the timing was surprising. Critics argued that the immediate priorities should have been supporting displaced residents, improving public safety, and determining whether any mistakes had contributed to the disaster. From that perspective, the focus on future redevelopment appeared to place long-term economic planning ahead of the urgent needs of families still coping with loss and uncertainty. To those critics, it served as a warning that future growth and investment were receiving more attention than resolving the crisis at hand. At the same time, many people argue that the destruction caused by the fires could not be placed entirely on either Newsom or Karen Bass. However, both leaders faced criticism after attention shifted toward the fire chief instead of broader policy decisions. Opponents pointed out that previous budget choices had reduced funding for fire services, leaving some departments with fewer personnel, limited equipment, and strained resources. They questioned how emergency crews could be expected to respond at their highest level while operating under those conditions. According to these critics, the situation not only increased the challenges faced during the disaster, but also reflected a pattern of avoiding accountability. They argue that true leadership means accepting responsibility for major decisions rather than placing the blame solely on those working on the front lines.
You're a fool blaming Trump. What are you doing for this destruction of these animals destroying Los Angeles? Are you there, talking calmly with them, you fool? They would burn you down like they're burning the cars of the American flag, with no regard for humanity. This is not about Trump. This is about protecting the people from these animals and criminals trying to destroy us. And our police force, are they supposed to stand there, let rocks hit them? Who's going to save them? You? President Trump called in the National Guard and the Marines to help with these destructive barbarians.
Despite Gavin Newsom overseeing the spending of billions of dollars, Mel Gibson has openly challenged the governor's record on financial responsibility. Gibson points to projects such as California's high-speed rail system and the state's enormous wildfire prevention and response expenses, arguing that the results have fallen far short of the money invested. In his view, these examples reflect poor management, weaken public trust, and raise serious questions about how the state's finances are being handled. Gibson argues that if California struggles to complete major infrastructure projects or effectively manage emergency responses, it becomes difficult to believe even greater financial responsibilities could be handled successfully in the future. Gibson is not the only public figure voicing criticism. Jon Voight has also become one of Newsom's outspoken critics. Months earlier, while commenting on the anti-IC protests and unrest in Los Angeles, Voight accused the governor of allowing the situation to escalate instead of responding with swift and decisive leadership. He argued that the unrest led to clashes with law enforcement, damage to property, and growing concern among local communities. According to Voight and other critics, Newsom's response appeared slow, detached, and ineffective during a period that demanded stronger action. As the events drew national attention, calls for a more forceful response grew louder. The eventual deployment of the National Guard became both a visible demonstration of government involvement and the center of an intense political debate.
All you do is cause chaos for the people. You're a disgrace. You're nothing but a lying dog for the hopes of becoming the president one day. And God is my witness, truth will prevail because of your faults and your incompetence for California's failures. We the people, I stand with Donald Trump to make this state great again. We the people choose Donald Trump to save America, and we're in danger with threats from terrorists now, and we must protect our country. This has now become good against evil. And evil will lose because our President of the United States of America was sworn in to protect this nation's greatest gifts: freedom, safety, prosperity. And he will, because he is the greatest president since ever.
Federal money should come a federal investigation into what...
The reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I asked my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
Newsom argued that the situation represented an example of federal overreach. However, Voight maintained that much of the damage had already occurred and that the unrest exposed deeper weaknesses in California's leadership. He continued to criticize the governor, emphasizing that a leader should be judged by actions rather than promises. According to Voight, public trust cannot simply be expected. It must be earned through steady progress, effective leadership, and lasting stability. In his view, California has fallen short in each of those areas. He also argued that voters are paying close attention, carefully watching how leaders respond to major challenges and using those decisions to shape their opinions about the state's future.